One of the best pieces of like grocery advice I ever got was from watching Jordan Page on YouTube. And she said, whenever you go to the grocery store, if you need one of an item, go ahead and pick up an extra. Obviously, if you can afford this in your budget. So for example, if I have a dinner this week that calls for a rotel, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a second rotel anyways to kind of keep my pantry stocked. It's a great way to have a pantry that's stocked, and it's also a great way, like we live in a time where like every dollar matters. If you get the flu and you miss a week of work and you can't afford that week of work, you're gonna have a stock pantry to feed yourself at least. She would also do something called like shelf timber, like during September, where she would just eat off of her pantry, and they would have like a $25 weekly grocery allowance for like fresh produce, milk, things like that. So it's definitely a great way to help cut down eventually like on your grocery budget, or to help when those times get like really, really tough, especially if something's on sale. Like sometimes the rotel will be like $1 and I'll be like, oh, let me go ahead and grab that.
I read a post once from someone who had lived through a wartime, and he said one of the most valuable things that you could never have enough of was canned goods. And as if I didn't need that reminder, but I'm reminding you guys, regardless how we feel about canned goods, it is one of the easiest and best things to stock up on. Whether you buy it commercially, whether you make it yourself, stack it to the rafters.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. So we're going to be checking out some videos about prepping, and the disclaimer I always give about these prepping videos is because some people think that once you make prepping videos, or you're just trying to scare people or fearmonger them, but it's really not that. You should not live in fear. That is not a good feeling, and I definitely do not encourage that. Like, it's just to show people who are interested in knowing, some of the things that people are actually buying, to prep, or maybe some people that never thought about it could actually think about it and just buy some items if you can afford it, of course, and just save some little things just in case. Not because, oh, there's going to be an apocalypse tomorrow, but just to save it just in case of an emergency. And emergencies could look different for everybody. It could also be like a person losing a job or so many other things. Like, more and more people are actually quietly prepping. It could be something as little as maybe whenever they go to the grocery store, they are picking up extra items to keep anytime they make like that grocery run. And it's not like, oh, just going to the store one time and packing a bunch of like packs of water and packs of toilet paper. Like, that's not the case, but like little by little, just saving things, buying some necessities or things to protect yourself in an emergency. But before we get right into this video, please make sure you click the like button. It helps with the algorithm, and I appreciate that so much. Let's get right into this video.
This might not be one of the most glamorous or demure things to talk about, but baby, in 2026, you need you a freezer. Okay, and I'm not talking about the cute kind that rolls out from underneath your refrigerator. You need an extra freezer. This is our deep freezer. It's very compact. This is only maybe like, oh my gosh, 4 feet wide, 4.5 feet high, maybe, but it does hold a lot of stuff. This is in a very, tight and compact space in our basement, and I just finished like restocking it. I got chicken, I got pork chops, I got legs, I got thighs, I got breasts, I got fish. Like, a lot of people don't buy more groceries than they need for the week, but baby, we're about to be in a food shortage, so please start stocking up. If there's some canned goods that you can buy those and put them in your extra pantry.
I've been telling people for the last year that hard times are coming, and it looks like hard times are here, y'all. So here's a couple of things that I've stocked up on in the last year. Most importantly, water. This is not all my water. This is about 2 Sam's Club cases of water, and I've got 2 more Costco cases of water in the car, and I'm going to get more water. You need about 1 gallon per person per day, so stock up on your water. Up there, we not only have pasta, we have simple extendable dry food. Now look, do I normally make my cornbread and stuff from scratch? Absolutely. But this is 40 ounces and it costs less than $4. You do the math. You can turn this into a bunch of different things. You could extend this into a bunch of different things. Again, $4. I have multiples, cause duh. Another thing I've stocked up on, sauces, juices, oils, anything that might be hard to get later, I'm stocking up. We got seasonings down there. We got juice up here. I've said it before and I'll say it again, get you a deep freezer. If you live somewhere like an apartment, you don't have a ton of space, you can get a small one, but you would be surprised what you can fit in this thing. Frozen vegetables, Italian sausage, whole chickens. I also have a whole turkey down there, but I'm not picking that up. Also, having a deep freezer allows you to keep your regular freezer for stuff that's a little easier to grab, like ice cream or maybe frozen pizzas. But what do? I do things like this. These are bones. As I cook throughout the month, I collect the bones, freeze them, and at the end of the month, turn them into a super rich bone broth. It's got collagen. It's got everything you need. It's got all that stuff that they're selling back to us. But also, that means I don't have to buy what? Broth. I know what's in it because I made it. This last one's a bit of a bonus, but it's really important to me. I made sure to grab the herbs and things to grow that I use both in my cooking and in my practices. I have a giant bucket of peppermint. I have, sage, and I know that it's sourced ethically because I grew it. I've got oregano, parsley, thyme, rosemary, lavender. Look at this basil. I have these things, and with nothing but a balcony, I can grow my own. And one last one for the road. If you have a hobby, stock up on your hobby supplies. So as for me, my hobbies are limitless, but I restructure clothes, I make things, I create. My hobbies are actually useful. So it's not a waste of money to indulge in candle making, because you know what comes in really, really handy when things go sideways? Candles. Find an inexpensive way to do it. You'd be surprised what you can find at the Dollar Tree or recrafting stores. But if your hobby is something that can potentially help you in your circumstances for the future, fund your hobby. Stock up while it's cheap. Or if not cheap, stock up while you can.
My husband and I decided to build an emergency food pantry. This was literally decided yesterday afternoon. Total was around $500. We did order those buckets on Amazon where you can store food up to 20 years, I believe. I don't know how it works, but anyways, my husband ordered it. He's going to take care of that. I am going to take care of this. And now I need to go ahead and start organizing the closet. And then our idea is to stuff every single month. So every time we go grocery shopping, we'll spend around, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks a month adding stuff. We do have a pantry in our kitchen, but I wanted to keep it separate. I really want this to be more intentional and be meant for emergencies. All right, this is the current state of my living room, and that's why I want to get everything out today, but I don't have bins. So we just finished with the waters. I still want to get 4 more packs, so I'll probably go to Costco today or tomorrow and get the rest of them. Now we need to figure out the food. I wanted to bins, like the Costco bins, but I don't have that much food yet, and I'm sure you guys can see from there. This is what it looks like. I mean, it looks organized. I label everything. It's not how I wanted, and we definitely need to get more food. I cannot believe that was almost $500 worth of stuff, and we barely got anything. We just need to find a better way to store our backpacks and stuff. And I do keep my weights here, not in the garage, just because I work out in our living room. But this is what I have for now. I'm gonna go get more food probably this week.
What do I think we should all be preparing for right now? I laugh not because it's funny, but just because that is such a loaded question. There's just so much going on right now. But I think the easiest way to try and figure out how to prepare is think about how expensive your groceries are. Think about how expensive your bills are, your electric, your basic hygiene, your doctor's appointments, and imagine that doubling, worst case scenario, maybe tripling, but just basically getting more expensive. And how can you make your life easier to where you can weather that, meaning that you can still afford things? So maybe if you have a little bit of money right now, you have, extras in your paycheck, should you be stocking up on your basic necessities so that you have a little bit of a stockpile? Or maybe if you don't have the extra money to do that right now, maybe you start focusing on cutting expenses, having a garage sale, selling things that you don't need to get an emergency fund, basically trying to create a financial safety net as much as you can. Maybe you do both. Rather than thinking about, specific things, is think about your personal situation. If things were to get even more expensive than they are now, how can you counteract that? Can you grow some of your own food? Can you, like I said, do all the other things? And think about it that way.
So right now, I'm in Food Lion getting a bunch of packs of water, because I know in a couple of months, this water, instead of being $5.99, this is gonna be about $10 for each pack of water. And y'all gonna wait until this price no longer says $5.99, and this is $10 for 1 pack of 35 water. That's what y'all waiting on.
After my last prepping video, so many of you took the time to leave very detailed, helpful comments and suggestions. I've been reading through them, and I truly appreciate all of the knowledge you guys have been sharing. Thank you. Before I get into this, make sure you're following me for more updates like this. And just so we're all on the same page, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness, preparation, and taking small steps to be a little bit more ready than we were yesterday. A few of my followers made some great recommendations, and it opened the door for a really helpful conversation, not just for me, but for anyone trying to be a bit more intentional about building up their home supplies right now. So, I went through my current stock and made a few adjustments based on what you all recommended, and I want to walk you through some of those changes. One of the first things I changed was how I store water. A few of you mentioned not keeping bottled water directly on concrete, so I've added pellets to my shopping list, but I'll be using this thin wooden plank to lift them off of the ground for now. I also looked into more food storage methods. Some of you recommended freezing rice and noodles for a short period before long-term storage to help with pests, then transferring them into sealed containers like mason jars or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. That's something I've started incorporating more intentionally. For long-term storage, I've also been separating things a bit better now. I'm paying more attention to salt storage, dry goods, and making sure everything is in an airtight container so it holds up better over time. A really practical tip I got was adding morale foods. Things like hard candy, gum, or small treats for kids. That's something I honestly hadn't prioritized before, but it makes a lot of sense because comfort matters during stressful situations too. I've also been thinking more about space efficiency. Some of you mentioned dehydrated vegetables, powdered foods, peanut butter powder, instead of traditional jars, and the other compact options for smaller living spaces. That's been really helpful for me as I reorganized. Another big thing I'm adding is backup basics. Things like extra can openers, hygiene supplies, multivitamins for the household, and even thinking ahead about prescription medication and talking with doctors about longer refills when possible. I've also seen a lot of reminders about rotating canned goods and being mindful of quality changes, especially with proteins like tuna or other shelf-stable items. That's something I'm going to be more consistent about checking. And honestly, one of the most helpful parts of all of this has been the way you all share ideas from your own experiences, whether it's meal planning strategies, long-term storage methods, or even just simple budgeting tips like buying 1 to 2 extra items each grocery trip. It all adds up. That's really what I want people to take away from this. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't need a perfect setup. Even small, consistent steps make a real difference over time. With food prices, gas, and the general cost of living continuing to rise, I personally think it's better to start building gradually now instead of waiting until it feels urgent later. I really appreciate everyone who's been contributing ideas and asking questions. If you have more suggestions, please drop them in the comments or send me a message. But comments are the best because my DMs tend to get filtered. My name is Viola, and thank you so much for watching.
Panic buying is not random. In fact, it's very predictable. And the best way that you can keep from having to be out there in the masses when something happens is to build a small buffer of pantry stock of things that you will actually use and that you know how to use when the time comes. People will actually go out and buy things they have no idea how to use. And that's why they sold so many dried beans and old-fashioned rice during the pandemic. And I bet a lot of those people didn't use those items. So these are some of the items that you need to backstock to be prepared in an emergency. Water and shelf-stable supplies that you will use. Milk, bread, eggs, snacks, convenience foods in case the grid goes down, baby formula, baby food, baby wipes, toilet paper, paper products in case you cannot wash dishes, trash bags, fill your car with gas, medications, hygiene products. These are the most important things to make sure that you have in an emergency. And it doesn't hurt to have some of these backstocked if you use them regularly.
Are you really prepared for the first wave? Survival. And what I mean by that, have you made a list of what you need to survive in your immediate family, your immediate household for up to 90 days? I don't think y'all understand the gravity of just surviving. I may start just do a little series each day of just adding things of what y'all need to consider, because it's amazing to think that after people not voting, after people not actually taking heed at all the warnings, they're still going to be like sitting ducks and asking for help, waving flags, asking for help when nobody's coming to help. This whole time, everybody been laughing at the people that like me that be talking about, oh, y'all just crazy. Oh, okay. So for people that want to stay and listen, here, this is what I'm gonna tell you. Make an essential list. Essential list need to be a pick up and go bag of essentials. All of your documents need to be in a place. Like, say if your house is on fire and you knew exactly where to go get your stuff, if it was a quick 1-2 or you were running out getting your keys, it need to be something like that. Nothing dramatic. That's why you kind of got to let go of being attached to things because of think about what happened. Okay, so like today, right now, with the water situation, you need to look into a reverse osmosis situation. If you don't know what that is, just go on Amazon. I'll link my Amazon store in a second. That's what you need to start there. You're going to drink. And just to add a tidbit just today, you may need, if you're not a vegetable and bean type of person, you may need to start becoming one. Think about eating meat and doing all this kind of stuff. You're not going to have it. And be prepared not to heat it up.
Welcome to Prepper Talk, where I prepare my family for international disaster. I am new at this, only a couple months in. I did have a stockpile before I got rid of after those around me convinced me I was delusional. Here's some tips. Here I have dehydrated beans and rice, as well as some ramen, and plenty of boxes of cornmeal. Then I have an assortment of canned beans and different soups and proteins. And I also have dried beans and oats that you guys will see too, and peanut butter. I also have canned pasta, dry pasta, and cereals. Because I don't know the specific nature of the disaster we may encounter, I want to prepare for all case scenarios and all stages. I right now do not have the means or knowledge to do canning myself, but I plan to start that in the future. I also do want to get more fruits and vegetables, but right now my son loves them, so anything I buy, he pretty much eats right away. This is not much, but it's a good start. If you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments.
If you observed in this video, I would say most people are not doing, or most of the people who are doing the prepping or who are advising people to actually prep are not doing it out of panic. And that's the main point. So like you're not supposed to be living in panic. Just prepare for just in case moments. And honestly, like over the years, you will notice that sometimes, like unexpectedly, because most of those things don't happen when you expect it. It's when you least expect it. That's when you see prices go up, and sometimes they go down. Sometimes you might have some shortages of some items. I think those experiences actually changed the way a lot of people think, and maybe that's the reason why some people got into the habit of prepping all the time. And the good thing about it is, like, sometimes a person could actually be going through some financial emergencies, financial struggle, and these things could actually show up to help them. Buying some dry items or some dry food, like those things actually really last. And if more and more people can buy that, like add those things to your prepping items, it definitely lasts.
You really should not ever strive to build a pantry based on some post-apocalyptic novel. You need to build something that will actually feed your family under actual stress. Now, I've got to share this because I hear it constantly. People reach out to me and they say, I bought 100 pounds of dried beans because everybody said that I needed them. Rice and beans, yeah. And then I asked, okay, how are the beans going? And they say, nobody in the house likes beans. Or they cause stomach problems. Or somebody is allergic to them. And they still bring them in the house. Or they've never actually cooked beans from scratch in their life, and they have no idea where to start. But they bought 100 pounds of beans. That is not preparedness, that's clutter. Expensive, well-intentioned clutter, but clutter. So here's what I want you to grab instead. Grab a legal pad, or a steno pad, or a composition book. Grab some paper, okay? Actual paper. I'm old-fashioned about it. I love paper and pencils. And write down 20 dinners that your family actually eats. 20 different dinners. 20 meals that nobody, or almost nobody, complains about. And then write down the ingredients for all of those meals. And guess what? Then stock those ingredients. And if beans are not part of that, don't go buy 100 pounds of beans. That right there is the smartest pantry that you can build. That's it. Start there. Number 2, and I always get somebody arguing with me about this, and they're wrong. Okay? I'm going to, plain and simple. I don't care. I really don't. I am not going to acknowledge or listen to the comments that are saying, well, I've done it and I've had it come out, 7 years later and it's still edible. No, virtually impossible, literally. And I have a whole spiel about that if you want me to. Okay, but do not stock up on huge amounts of commercially ground flour. Period. Huge amounts, okay? If you are afraid and you want to be able to bake bread or muffins or, whatever it is that you bake flour with, do not go out and buy hundreds of pounds of flour, commercially ground flour, unless you can legitimately use that quantity within a year. I have talked about this so many times that I feel like I should have a running, banner across my forehead. One of the biggest mistakes that I see on a consistent basis, I mean, seriously consistent, and I'm seeing people do it right now. They're buying massive amounts of commercially ground flour. And I get it, because flour is foundational, It is one of those things that just creates so many different things that we eat. So it's understandable, but here's the thing. Commercially ground flour is not as storage friendly as many people think. And a lot of it will have to do with where you live and the environment where you live and your storage conditions and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I'm still telling you for a fact that nobody successfully stores commercially ground flour long term. And if they do, by the end of that long term, if it has not by some miracle, according to the comment section, gone rancid, then basically they have the equivalent of drywall dust. Regular flour, under the best conditions possible, 1 to 2 years. And that's under the best conditions possible, okay? Airtight, dry, dark. Yeah, that's the best conditions. Temperature, moderate, 50 to, 75. So if you can 100% maintain those conditions, then you might get 2 years out of it. But I'll tell you, the nutritional value, which is already very depleted, is going to be even lower by the end of that 2 years. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, is more heartbreaking than opening up that bucket of flour or that Mylar bag of flour after, a couple of years and getting that first smell of rancid, nasty flour that your good, hard-earned money put up. What does it smell like? Paint thinner. Okay, that's the closest likeness that I can have. It smells like paint thinner. Now, if you bake regularly and you go through large quantities of flour consistently, then it makes sense. But otherwise, I don't care what you do to it. Now, with one exception, okay, but I'll tell you all about that. With one exception, if you take that flour and you put it into Mylar bags and you put it in your freezer, you have stopped the clock if you store it in the freezer. Yeah, you've stopped the clock. But then somebody will say, but Lisa, what happens when the grid goes down? Because they're not even saying what if anymore in the comment sections. They're saying what happens when the grid goes down. Because as we all know, the grid is not good. If you take the time to learn to work with wheat berries, okay, and to mill your own flour and to invest in the equipment to do it and to make bread from that, which will never, ever, 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 ever taste like Wonder Bread, okay? But it is a significantly healthier bread, and wheat berries will last 30 plus years. So if it's that important to you, then that's the route that you want to go. Otherwise, only stock what you are sure that you can go through within a year. And then just backfill. That's all you got to do.
And honestly, prepping is not a new idea. Prepping has been something that has been happening for a long, long time. Like, it has always happened. Like, people always save and, preserve some items for when they need it. They've always had backup supplies. They've stored food away just in case something unexpected happens. But I noticed that most of the time right now, or most of the words that I'm hearing from people is anytime you mention it, they see it as, oh my God, like you're just talking, or you're saying something like that, maybe because there's a disaster that is coming. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, honestly, like, that shouldn't be the mentality that is wrapped around people who prep. Or sometimes people actually often look at those people who do prepping as maybe they're crazy, they're out of their mind. But I've also like picked up on the habit of always buying extra anytime I go to the store. Like, it doesn't have to be too much or too grand, like, because most people really don't have a lot of money to be doing all those grand purchases. It could be something as simple as when you step into the store, you just buy extra whatever you're buying if you do have the money, and then you store it away and forget about it. Because honestly, I tell you, the worst thing you want to be a part of is actually those panic buying. And take your time preparing so you don't have to do panic buying and buy a bunch of nonsense that you would never use or do not even know how to use. You've made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. Please make sure you click the like button. It helps the algorithm and I appreciate that so much. And subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're watching me for the very first time. Hit the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video, and leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to see what you think about this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.